Hey everyone, welcome back to Brian's Mysteries and Adventures on Trail. I hope everyone is having a good spring so far, or the beginning of spring. And I just wanted to say thank you for all those that well wishes. I am feeling a lot better and doing better. And today we are going to be talking about the unbelievable and very disturbing case of the disappearance and reappearance of Sherri Papini. Now, Sherri vanished while she was jogging near her home, which is in Redding, California, which is in the northern part of California. Very pretty neighborhood, very nice neighborhood. This happened on November 2nd of 2016. When she failed to return home, obviously her husband called 911 frantically, worried about his wife. This had never happened before. He had no idea what was going on. And obviously a huge search began. And it got a lot of media attention. I'm sure some of you are familiar with the case. Some of you probably remember it. This actually got international headlines. It was a very big deal. I mean, hundreds of residents joined with law enforcement to help look for her. They went through all these different trails and roads and various waterways of Shasta County. I mean, they really put in a lot of effort. She is a mother of 2 young children. She's married. It was just thought that she had been either abducted or obviously something bad happened. Now, this is Sherri on the left. After she went missing, her husband did the Find My iPhone thing on the app, and he found her phone near the Oregon Trail, so it was thought that she disappeared around here, which is not that far from her house. So they concentrated their efforts there, and law enforcement and volunteers, they spent 22 days looking for her, and eventually, the search just fizzled out because there were no other leads, there were no clues, and it was just thought that something bad had happened to her. The community really rallied in support of this woman. They put up signs all over the place. And like I said, this wasn't just a local thing. This got international headlines. It was all over the news. There was a GoFundMe page set up that generated almost $50,000 in support and efforts to try and help find her. There were numerous Facebook and other social media accounts set up in efforts to try and help locate her. This generated thousands and thousands of people willing to help and trying to come to aid to the family and, of course, her children. Sheriff Michael Johnson of the Shasta County Police Department is one of the heroes of this story, and I'll explain more why, but he is quoted in saying that they spent roughly $150,000 plus looking for Sherri. Despite the case having lost traction and pace over the years, there were still some people that obviously were looking into it, and even though it was a cold case, they were still doing, as much as they could to try and locate her. There were various volunteer groups in Shasta and Redding that would get together and go out on search parties trying to find her, and this went on for especially several months after, but even years to follow, and they put in just hours and hours and days of effort looking for her. Now, bizarrely, 3 weeks later, on Thanksgiving Day, around 150 miles away in a town called Woodland, this is south of the town of Redding, Miss Papini just sort of walked out of the woods, and she had shackle marks on her arms. Her hair had been shaved. She looked like she lost a ton of weight. She had various scratches and stuff on her face. Her nose looked bruised. She had bruises throughout her body. And of course, the law enforcement began to question her. And this is where the mystery sort of began, because from the get-go, after she had been found, there was also a brand found on her shoulder, although the brand was indistinguishable. They couldn't tell what it was. And aside from her telling the authorities that she had been kidnapped by 2 women, Hispanic women in masks, she refused to talk. She just sort of clammed up and didn't say anything. So the authorities actually allowed her to tell her story to her husband first. And they haven't really said why, but I guess after talking to some psychiatrists, they said that when people have gone through trauma, they're often more comfortable telling a story to a family member, although in this case it's not applicable, and you'll understand why if you don't already know why, but I'll explain it because this is a ridiculous story. In any event, the story sort of just kind of fizzled out, and just time kind of went on and people just kind of went about their lives. However, for some people, like Sheriff Michael Johnson of Shasta County and some other people in the civilians in the county, they were very suspicious of the whole story. They started doing research, and actually one gentleman in particular, he posted a Facebook post and it got 50,000 views. It was basically accusing her of making the story up, and he was actually threatened by many people, and he just felt like he was in trouble, so he took the post down. The same with Sheriff Michael Johnson. He put in a lot of effort and work, and he felt like there was just something not right with this case, and he was ridiculed. People attacked him saying like she was a victim, and that's why I feel like he really is a hero of this case, because he stuck to his wits, he kept on his gut feeling, and he really worked hard on this case. He just knew something was wrong, and he eventually gathered all his evidence. And unfortunately, a lot of people were criticizing the police because of all the time that went by, but you have to remember COVID hit and there was just a lot of things that sort of got in the way. But he turned over all his evidence to the FBI. In 2020, in August, the FBI sat down with Sherri Papini, and before they started questioning her, they said, look, if this was made up, this is your chance to come clean, because lying to the FBI is a federal offense. We're giving you the opportunity to tell us what really happened. And instead of her telling the truth, she continued to make these false statements to the federal authorities. She said that she was abducted by 2 Hispanic women in masks. She said that they made her eat garbage, basically. She said that they kept her in the car blaring this really crazy Latin music. Of course, this was all made up. I mean, she's making this all up. And, you know, she just went on to make up things like she said that they tied her up, they bound her, they branded her, and a bunch of other things that, of course, we found out were not true. What is even more just despicable and outrageous is that Sherri received more than $30,000 in aid during these years from the California Victims Compensation Board. I mean, how despicable can you be? Here she knows this was all fake, and she's taking money from what could be going to people that actually do need it, who are victims. So the federal government, they started doing their investigation, and they brought in one of her ex-boyfriends, and it didn't take long for him to crack. He cracked almost immediately. He told them right away what happened. He said that they had planned this from the beginning. They used burner cell phones. For those that don't know, burner cell phones are just those disposable ones you can buy at Walmart. You put money on via a little card, and it's just a way that bad guys are able to do things without being tracked. They planned that she was going to stay with him for 3 weeks. She starved herself to make it look like he helped her put ropes around her arms and make it look like, you know, that she had been kidnapped, when in fact it was all made up. This was all a hoax. And the boyfriend continued to give information. He said that she was with me for the whole 3 weeks. We had been planning this for months. Investigators were able to trace DNA found on her clothing back to this ex-boyfriend's house, and he was living in Costa Mesa, California, which is about 9.5 hours south. I'll have a map up, but that's where she had been spending these 3 weeks. And they started doing more investigating, and they found out that back in 2006 with her first husband, that she had gotten married to him just to be able to get the military health insurance. As they started doing more investigation from friends or people that knew her, they said that she was very good at making up false realities. They even talked to people at her work, and they said that she was just a genius at making up stories and very good at convincing people of things that weren't true. In fact, when she was younger, back in the early 2000s, she actually accused her family of being abusive and ran away. Of course, this was all made up as well. So she had a very long history of lying, and it was considered to be attention seeking. Everybody that knew her said that she was just crazed and desperate for attention, which doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, she's a good looking woman. She had a good job, a nice husband, kids. Why would somebody do this? It's just unbelievable. It's just so disturbing. What's worse is, as far as the authorities are concerned, or as up to date, her husband had no idea about any of this. He was unaware of this plot, and I can't imagine what he's going through and what their kids will have to go through. I mean, it's just so sad. And what is also very distressing and upsetting is that During this same time, a woman by the name of Stacy Smart went missing, and she's still missing to this day. And the authorities have also said that they feel bad that, at the time they had resources going towards Sherri when they could have been going towards Stacy. And that's been a big point of contention. But unfortunately, at the time when this first happened, they had no idea that it was a hoax. I mean, why would they? They thought it was a real thing. Finally, though, they did get justice. She was arrested this year, and she was charged with several different counts: lying to the federal government's wire fraud. She had taken a bunch of that money and she used it to buy indoor curtains, and so they held her at the Sacramento District County Jail, and they held her on a $120,000 bond, which she did make. She has to get out and use her money for counseling, and they are still waiting to sentence her. She accepted a plea deal, which she admitted her guilt, and she did issue a statement of apology saying that she was sorry that she lied to everybody and that she feels ashamed and embarrassed, and she should. I mean, obviously she needs psychological help, because here's a woman that is attractive, she's successful, she has a nice husband, kids, everything in the world, and yet she felt the need to go out and do this absurd hoax that captivated the entire country, that wasted millions of hours of people's times and dollars, and it's just unbelievable. The authorities kept giving her chances. When she met with the FBI in 2020, that was her chance to come clean. But instead of just coming clean and getting the truth out, she decided to waste more FBI researchers. She wasted their research on the sketch artist. It was an FBI sketch artist that drew this fake picture of these people that she had claimed kidnapped her. God only knows what her poor family and friends, if she has any, are going through. And yes, I think it's good that she issued an apology. That's the first step, if she actually does mean it. She said that she is deeply ashamed of herself. She said that, quote, "I will work the rest of my life to make amends for what I have done." The plea agreement was delivered to the prosecutor's office and the U.S. Attorney's Office in Sacramento. They're expected to file the charges, or the actual, what her punishment will be, within the next coming months. And honestly, I hope that she has to pay back all that money, and I hope that she has to do a ton of community service and whatever jail time they feel is necessary. And I definitely think that they should mandate psychological therapy and counseling, because I don't think she took into account the emotions and stress that people feel when they actually care about somebody, even if they don't know them. And this is not something that was just affecting a few people. As I've said many times, this was an international story, and unfortunately it captured the hearts of many, which is normal. That's how we normally react. And it's hard enough that we have people that actually do go missing or who are kidnapped. And we don't need people that are faking it to draw attention and resources away from those that really need it. Sheriff Johnson is quoted as saying that he is sad for this whole situation, but he is glad that she is facing the repercussions and that she's facing justice, and that he feels vindicated because of all the ridicule that he took. And, I'm a compassionate person. I mean, I really do hope and pray that she gets the psychological treatment that she needs, but I think it's going to be a long time, being incarcerated, and who knows if she'll ever be able to repay her debt to society. This isn't like she stole a lollipop from the local 7-Eleven. I mean, this was a huge international thing, and ironically, she got the attention. Probably not the way she wanted, but I mean, hey, that's what she was out to get, so it kind of serves her right. The most bizarre and upsetting thing is there was absolutely no reason for it. This woman was successful, she had a family, loving people, and very attractive. It's for what? I mean, that just goes to show you how deep the psychosis runs. All we can hope for is that she gets the psychological help that she needs, and hopefully her time incarceration, however long that may be, will teach her a lesson, but who knows? I'm just happy to know we have people like Sheriff Michael Johnson who stuck to their wits, and that's really hard to do when you feel like the whole world's against you, and it was because of him that this case came to fruition. I want to thank you all for watching, as always. Special thank you to co.ag for providing the background music, and I will see everyone in the next one. Take care. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking with me till the end. I know this case was a little bit different, but it was a case that I actually had followed, and I was just so taken aback when I read about what actually happened, and I just couldn't believe it because, like I said, there are so many people that do need our help, that do go missing, whether it's on a hike, whether it's in everyday life, or worse yet, if they're abducted. Any type of these cases, that people that actually need help and resources, the last thing that we need is people making up hoaxes and stealing resources. So I just wanted to present this case because I felt it was important, because a lot of these investigators and FBI agents worked really hard on this case. In any event, I am currently preparing for my trip out west. I'm not going to be leaving until sort of the end of May, but I will be driving across country. When I'm heading west, I'm going to be doing the northern route. So if you'd like me to stop in your town or have a case you want me to investigate, please send me an email or send me a comment, however way you want to. I'll be happy to look into it. And then on my way back, when I'm returning, I'm not sure when that'll be, but I'll be taking the mid or southern route. So I'd love to hear from you guys. I love all your comments and all your feedback.